And this is The World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen. We've had a lot of guests over the years, but none like our guest today. Anyone who has flown in an airplane has rummaged through the pouch in front of their seat. After you pull out the magazines and the emergency directions, you eventually get to the air sickness bags, or the Barf bags, as they're commonly called. Have you ever wondered why they are occasionally multicolored, why they're needed at all, or why anyone would care about these questions? Well, probably not. But our guest today cares very much about these things and about these bags. So much so that he not only has a collection of bags, but he has a virtual Barf bag museum on the internet. I cannot wait to find out why he has such a unique interest. But in any event, it is a pleasure to welcome to the World of Work today, Steve Silberberg. Mr. Silberberg, welcome to the World of Work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Shep.
It's a pleasure to have you with us.
You just wait. You may be regretting those words.
I don't know. We haven't spoken before. We've arranged this through the internet, so we'll see what happens. Let me start with something that I got through your internet site. Tell us about the guy who has or claims he has a bag that JFK threw up in.
Oh, well, several years ago, I got this email that said, "Hey, I have a bag that John F. Kennedy threw up in. Do you want it? I can get it for you or sell it to you." So, I couldn't pass it up. I had to go and respond to it. And he never did respond back to me, so I thought it was just a bogus type of story where he was going, "Hey, let's see if we can pull one over on the Barf bag guy," and I guess he did.
Let me ask you this. Let's talk about something serious.
And of course, what kind of sick person would keep something like that? I mean, I should be one to talk, but who would really? There's paparazzi only goes so far, I think.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how sick we all are after this hour. Before we get into some of the crazier stuff, let's talk about, who is it that designs these airbags, these Barf bags on airlines anyway?
I'm not really sure who designs them. I think different companies hand the task over to different people. So, for instance, in the United States, where they seem to have gone to a plain white bag, I think nobody really designs that, and they just farm it out to several companies that manufacture them, the largest being Elag in Switzerland, and they just say, "Hey, send us something." But if you go over into the Scandinavian countries, you find that there is actually quite an interest in making a beautiful form and function of these bags.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's something having to do with the sensibilities of those cultures. And you find that looking at bags from different cultures, you see completely different attitudes towards A, bodily functions, B, design, and C, senses of humor.
So you mean there's actually a sociological aspect to these air sickness bags?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe, isn't it?
I was thinking of you last night, believe it or not, about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, thank you.
I don't know if you have followed the World Series, but when the relief pitcher for Arizona had a home run hit off of him and he just stood there stunned, I thought, this is a guy who needs a Barf bag right now.
Yeah, I guess he did. They have, there's actually a lot of different times when people use air sickness bags. They're not only in the air. There's sea sickness bags, bus sickness. People get car sick. And even in movies, people have been known to get motion sickness.
And have you looked into all that? The difference between when someone would want an air sickness bag or a car sickness bag or a train or a boat or whatever?
Well, typically they're all designed very similarly. There's about, there's maybe, 6 to 10 different types of designs. There's your wire clothes, there's your drawstring, there's the gripper zipper, the plastic bag. There's a bunch of different ways that bags are manufactured. And I forgot the question, actually.
I don't think the question matters. I guess the question was...
You know what? Just wind me up and I'll go and talk about bags. What can I say?
The question was, why all the different types of sicknesses that will lead you to use one of these bags.
Oh, yeah. Actually, these days, there isn't a lot of need for sickness bags. Unfortunately, it's the disaster type of situation. When you need it, you're glad they're around. But pretty much, air travel is so calm these days that most people don't need it anymore.
I know a friend of mine, first day in a job, he told me, this is many years ago, he parked improperly in a spot. He was working for a company, and he parked in a spot improperly, and on his windshield, on one of the Barf bags, was written, "This is not your spot, this is my spot." So I guess they can be used for that as well.
They can be used for all sorts of different things. In fact, I found out this morning there was a bank in New Jersey, in Summit, New Jersey.
Yes.
What they did was they were underwriters for loans for aircraft equipment, and one of their ways to go and promote themselves was to advertise on a motion sickness bag, which I would love to obtain one of those. But people use them for all sorts of different reasons, and they're often used for merchandising and gags and that type of thing.
Now, why would someone have all different color bags? I mean, they're used for one purpose, and why do you need to have all these different colors in some of them? I mean, why not just the white one?
I don't know. Some might say, some of the more marketing savvy people might say, well, you always want to put your best foot forward, and you always want to promote a product. So you take, for instance, a China Airlines bag from about 10 years ago. They have a beautiful flower on there with 4-color printing. And, I don't know what goes through people's minds subconsciously, but maybe they see this and say, wow, that's attention to detail. Maybe China Airlines is the way to go from now on.
Now, is this something that is made in the Orient, or they made in China or Japan, whatever, which is a lot cheaper than if they're made in America, or they're American-made airbags? I mean, is this something you want to say, made in America, and has the Union label on it?
Actually, if you look at an Egypt airbag, they are made in Egypt, and apparently Egypt seems to be a big place where bags are made. And again, there's one, Switzerland has the largest manufacturer. American Bag and Paper Corporation in Philadelphia used to have, I think they still put out bags. So I think it's probably like any other commodity. Somebody in the company goes out and does a price analysis and says, well, this is where it's going to be done, and then they have a designer on hand. But I have never actually met an air sickness bag designer.
I was wondering, now with the Homeland Security and all of the problems with the airlines, are air sickness bags going to be regulated? Or are we going to have some type of regulation where some czar is going to determine if they're appropriate, if they're safe, etc.? Is that going to be something that the president has to worry about?
I don't think the president's going to go and worry about that, although, he's from Texas, so who knows?
Now, you're in Texas now, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
That's what we're speaking to?
Yes, I live in Texas. I'm actually a northeasterner at heart, but I live here right now. Actually, the terrorist attack I think everyone went and reevaluated their lives, but then you look at something, a hobby like this, and I thought, really, do I need to be doing this? But as things settle back down a little bit, it's just something I do, and I don't have anything else insightful to say about that, unfortunately.
Okay. What's the cost of a bag? Do they vary if they're plastic, paper, or made out of different materials?
Well, I'm not sure how much it costs to actually buy bags from the manufacturers. I make it a point, however, there are various values set on bags by collectors around the world. There was a bag recently that sold for $111 on eBay, And then there was a set of 2 bags that sold for $125 on eBay. So there is some value to various collectors. I don't think composition has anything to do with it. Often design is something that's more interesting to people. So, for instance, I have an Aerolineus Argentinus bag, and all it is the words Aerolineus Argentinus on it. And it's nice to have it as a collector, but it really isn't anything special, has no flair. Whereas there's an Air Seychelles bag, which is a very vivid yellow with a couple of birds on it, and it's just a beautiful bag. And you, like a collector of any other type of objet d'art, you tend to value those a little bit more.
Now, which type of bags are more in demand? New bags, used bags, or something in between?
Actually, any old bags are very much in demand. Bags from airlines that have only, say, 3 carriers. For instance, there's an airline called Eurocypria.
Where is that? What country is that from?
I think it's out of Cyprus.
Okay.
And that airline only has 3 planes in its entire fleet. So that's going to be one that's going to be a little bit more valued. I have a bag from Air Somalia, which I believe, I'm not even sure if they're still around. Certainly defunct airlines are more popular and harder to get. And if it's from several years ago in a small airline, well, those are really difficult to find. And I think people like those.
And so people actually go online?
It's like the baseball cards. If you have a Honus Wagner T206, well, you're going to, that's it, because there's only one of those in mint condition.
So, in other words, a card, a baseball card, like a 1961 Mickey Mantle, might be equivalent to one of those rare air sickness bags?
Well, you know what, I wouldn't even deign to say anything like that. But yeah, for us collectors, sure, you get an old bag from the 40s or something like that. Well, that'd be awesome. You just don't find those around very much.
Now, who is it that initiates this bidding online for these bags?
Actually, there's a large market in airline memorabilia. Oddly enough, safety card collectors are very popular are very big into this because, well, where do you find a safety card? The exact same spot.
Yep, that same pouch, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of interswapping and selling between safety card and barf bag collectors. But you'll also find people who just put it out there as a joke, and then they're really surprised when they get some bids on it. And there are others who are collectors who have a backlog of duplicates, and they just put it out there to see how much they can get for them. I don't prefer to sell. In fact, I've never actually sold a bag. It's not really something I like to do, but I do like to go and swap them with people. And
so you actually have friends who do this thing, these type of collections also?
Yeah, well, friends, I guess they're acquaintances. I've only met one person, one other collector in person. We got to a local, he used to live in Dallas, and we met at a local restaurant, pulled out hundreds of bags, took up a couple tables, and it was great to see the look on people's faces as they walked into the restaurant as we were swapping bags. You develop sort of collectors develop a sort of a sixth sense about them, about what or strong attitudes about bags that you have, and it's shared by other collectors, and you can tell at a glance the story behind certain bags, which ones will be valuable to the community. And I can't really delineate the rules for that. It's just a sensibility you gain.
So you don't have like the baseball cards where they have shows and they have people signing them. You don't have that with airbag.
That is actually a very popular pastime. Some people like to go and have. There's a guy, Mr. Muto from Japan, who I believe has all his bags signed by the captains on the flight from which he appropriated the bags. So yeah, some people do like to get autographs, but no. generally it's these airline memorabilia shows where you'll have one or two air sickness bag collectors show up, and hopefully, somebody who collects playing cards or something like that may have some.
Are you going to start some type of group where you fly to some exotic place and you show your bags off?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, am I going to start some kind of 12-step group? But no, nah. What I would like to do though is I would like to start a roadside attraction museum someday, where people come by in their Winnebago and they're on their way to see the Grand Canyon, and they say, well, you know what, let's stop for 15 minutes at the Barf Bag Museum and check it out.
Well, you actually have a virtual museum on the web, don't you?
Yes, I do. At my site, airsicknessbags.com, I've scanned in all the bags in my personal collection, and I kind of take it as a little bit too seriously. That's because after all, they're just bags, really. But if you go to the site, you can do searches on various bags, and it's constantly under development. But if you have some time to waste and you want to go see different bag designs, you go to the site.
And you have a lot of other things too. I mean, you talk about you have a commemorative certificate that you can get.
Yeah, I'm starting a Barf Bag Hall of Fame, and I'm trying to. Let me go back a step. I consider myself a curator of a museum. Are they fine art? Yeah, well, I think Degas would have something to say about that. So they're not really fine art, but they are very functional art, very pop art. And if you go and look at the bags, you can convince yourself of this, or at least I think you can. So what I like to do is run it as a museum. Other people, such as the MIT Media Lab and Greenpeace, have donated their collections to me, and now they are having wings on my museum where I curate for them and keep the bags safe and warm, and you can go and see them on the site.
So if you're going to have a roadside actual museum, that will be the same pieces that you can see on the website.
Yeah, the website doesn't do it justice because it's really hard. There's 650 bags, and it doesn't do it justice to see them one at a time on the website. When you see them all laid out, and I haven't actually done it with all of them, but when you see them all, you actually get a better feeling. It's like going to the Louvre. When you're actually in the Louvre and you can walk around and see and feel the difference.
Absolutely,
it's different than just a Mona Lisa on your screen.
Yeah, it's just like going to a library. You like to touch the books rather than just looking at it through the computer.
Now, do you collect anything, Shep?
I have baseball cards.
Oh, okay.
And I also have comic books.
And which gives you more satisfaction?
I guess the baseball cards, because I'm more of a baseball fan.
Oh, are you? So you must be a Yankees fan.
I am a Yankee fan. Yes, I am. So
okay.
I've been.
Well, I grew up a Red Sox fan, so I'm not loving it right now.
But I went to Fenway Park a couple of years ago, and I had a great time there. It's a great stadium, or a great ballpark, I guess you could.
What is your what card do you like the best? Do you have a 1961 Mickey Mantle?
I have 3 mint conditions 1961 Mickey Mantles.
Now, how in the world did you keep them in mint condition? I can't even imagine that.
There were certain cards that I flipped, and there were certain cards that I set aside and I would just not touch. And fortunately, my mother is someone who saved things. A lot of mothers would throw things away. My mother just never threw anything away, so my cards just kind of stood there all the years. And one day, I said, there it is. Also, in 1962, I wrote Mickey Mantle a get well card when he was sick, and I recently went to my parents' home and I found that letter. He responded to me. He wrote me a thank you for the card that I sent him.
Wow, try to get a baseball player to do that nowadays.
No, never happened, but I have a letter actually to me, and this is before zip codes. So it was like Bronx 51, New York it came from.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's part of my collection.
Did you frame it or something like that?
I did frame it, yes. I framed that, and I also framed the envelope.
Do you go to the baseball card conventions at all?
I don't, no. I mean, I have my cards, and that's and I don't want to sell them. I don't want to, I don't buy any others, but I have them, and I'm happy with that.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned about how your mother put them aside and kind of collected things collected in the house. I wonder if there's some common thread among collectors of all things, that they're more pack rats. I know that I came from a family of pack rats, and other people who perhaps were in a more disposable type of household, perhaps they don't collect anything. Do you think there's any credibility to that theory?
I think so. I mean, my parents stayed in one house for about 40 years, so everything was in the attic.
Wow.
So that's why my baseball cards kind of stayed longer than the comic books, because they turned brown. So they're not although they were in mint condition, a lot of them, they're still not worth what the baseball cards are.
Yeah, they tend to yellow a little bit more because of the paper they're printed on.
Yeah. But that could be. I mean, did your parents didn't collect Barf bags, did they?
This is not. I do not come from a multi-generational air sickness collecting family. although I do like the concept of that. Yeah, no, actually, my parents were big collectors, and I was the rebel. I said no more.
Now you have your virtual museum. How did you start the museum?
Well, I do computer work to make money. Certainly, this is.
I mean, you don't make loads of money on your museum?
Oh, not at all. It's been a huge financial drain, if anything.
But I really enjoyed it. I went through it a couple of weeks ago. I went through it last night and again this morning.
Oh, excellent. I'm glad. I've been adding specimens. And in fact, while I was on hold waiting for the interview, the postman came to the door and delivered 6 new air sickness bags for me. So I was pretty happy about that.
And from where? Where'd they come from?
Well, this was one I actually bid on eBay.
Okay.
From an Australian gentleman, and I won the auction, and he sent me the bags I won, but he also sent me a couple of spares, which is kind of interesting. You find it's a very giving community. It hasn't gotten to the other type of It hasn't gotten to the fevered pitch of other types of memorabilia. So, for instance, it's not like Beanie Babies, where people are out to get their $2,000 for this Beanie Baby, and that's it. We're a very genial, cordial type of community. Well,
you better watch out. I mean, when it really starts booming, then you're going to get the sharks out there coming after you.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that'll ever happen, but that would be interesting. I do know that there are a few cutthroat collectors out there, but most of us realize it for what it is and say, hey, you know what? Ultimately, these things are just free. They come on flights, and we're doing it because it's a curiosity, and I think people like that when they see something like this and say, hey, you know what? I never considered this, and it makes people stop and wonder.
Now, one of the items in your website, I believe, is wallpaper. Are there Barf bag wallpapers, or?
No, that refers to screen wallpaper. You can wallpaper your screen with bags if you like.
Okay.
But you did ask earlier about starting the website.
Yes.
It was.
You know what? Let me just, before you get into that, it's time for us to take a break for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
Why don't we take the break, and then when we come back, I think it would be great to talk about how you started the website.
Okay.
This is The World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and we're speaking with Steve Silberberg, who has a virtual museum on air sickness bags, and we've been speaking to him for the first half of our show. When he comes back, he's going to talk about his collection, and specifically, he's going to deal with how he created his museum. This is The World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen.
A peanut sat on a railroad track, his heart was all aflutter. Along came the choo-choo train.
Peanut butter.
You're listening to WDVR FM 89.7 in Delaware Township and 91.9 in Lawrenceville, Princeton, Trenton, New Jersey.
Some of the folks who have donated premiums for WDVR's October fundraiser are the Apple Inn in Lambertville, Robin Meadow Farm, Ringo's, Bob Egan Entertainment, New Hope, Thomas Patrick Hanlon Watercolors in Bath, PA, Max and Me Catering, Gardenville, PA, Palace Restaurant, Bethlehem, Siren Records, Doylestown, Woody and Donna Schreck, Bangor, PA, River of Life Natural Foods in Lahaska, Frank Fernaccio, Easton, PA, Cafe Ariel in Doylestown, Branchburg Pizza, Branchburg, New Jersey, Veranda's Tea Room in Clinton, Chambers Restaurant, Doylestown, Atlantic Book Warehouse, Montgomeryville, PA, Widow McRae Bread and Breakfast, Frenchtown, New Jersey, Joy of Hair in Stockton, Clinton Bookshop, Clinton, New Jersey, Picture Perfect in Flemington, Dr. John Brick of Yardley, PA, and Night House Restaurant, Doylestown, PA. Peddler's Village of Lahaska, Pennsylvania has made this portion of today's programming possible. Designed for shopping with 70 retail shops, 9 restaurants, and acres of free parking, Peddler's Village offers a great selection of quality products. Everything from doorknobs to jewelry, kitchenwares to gourmet snacks and wines, to lingerie and seasonal events, all in one convenient spot. Located midway between Doylestown and New Hope on Route 202, their hours are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Fridays and Saturdays till 9, and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. The phone number is 215-794-4000. The web address, peddlersvillage.com. Peddlers Village and WDVR, working together to serve you.
Sonar keeps us from running into anything under the water. Radar does the same thing on the surface.
Ever wonder what the difference is between sonar and radar? The answer can be found in everyday science. Both sonar and radar are methods that use electromagnetic waves to locate distant objects. But sonar uses long sound waves and radar uses shorter waves. To get on the same wavelength as sonar, we may as well dive right in. We're underwater because that's where sonar devices come in especially handy. You see, long sound waves travel very quickly and efficiently through water, whereas radar's short waves can't travel through water at all. Let's say that submarine way down there wants to detect an underwater object in its path. It will send out sonar waves like those passing by us right now. After striking the object, many of those original waves will bounce back to the device that transmitted them. They'll then be picked up by a receiver and converted into electrical signals that can be read on a computer screen. Well, time to surface. Now that we're back above water, we can take a look at it. Watch out! That, my friend, was a radar wave that just sped by. It came from an antenna nearby and could be tracking a plane, the speed of a car, or even coming weather. Now, when that radar wave hits an object in its path, it too bounces back, returning to its antenna and generating an on-screen image of the object, including where it is, where it's going, and how dense it is. Thanks for doing the wave with us today, and for being a part of Everyday Science. Everyday Science is part of Bayer Corporation's national education program, making science make sense.
And we're back on the air. This is The World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and we're speaking this afternoon with Steve Silberberg, who is the owner, creator, curator of the Air Sickness Bag Museum, and you can get it on the internet by airsicknessbags.com. Mr. Silberberg, you were going to talk, before we took our break, about how you actually created the museum on the web. Why don't you explain that to us?
Well, one of the things is, as you know with baseball cards, it can be difficult to display your collection. You can put your collection up in your place of residence, and then it's limited to the people who come through there. I had shown the collection at the Western Washington Fair in 1987, but that type of thing was difficult. and cumbersome to do, and did not reach such a large audience. When the internet came along, being a computer programmer, I thought this is a great outlet for this, and I thought, why don't I just put it out there and see what happens? And I was very fortunate so I scanned in a bunch of the bags I had, threw up a site, and, well, literally threw up a site, I guess, and within
That's why you said people are very giving, right?
Yes. And it was there, and it got a little bit of, it got some attention, but not too much. And then I actually bought the domain airsicknessbags.com and registered it on Yahoo. And at that point, the New York Times picked up on it about 2 months later, mentioned it in a small piece in there somewhere, and from then on, I've gotten a lot of media attention about it, and quite a number of hits actually as well.
And has it grown? Over the years, have you changed it, modified in any way?
Yeah, I changed it a lot. I've tried to make the images smaller so that they load quicker. I still need to work on that a little bit. And I've made it database accessible, whereas it used to be just a list of all the bags, and you click on it and see the bags. Now you can go and sort them by date, by bag color, by country of origin, that type of thing.
Now, you also have Steve's Valentine's Day. What's that about?
Oh, the Valentine's Day thing?
Yeah.
That just is a link that's on the Air Sickness Bag site. When I met my girlfriend, it was almost Valentine's Day, so I said, hey, I'm going to take you out on a date for Valentine's Day, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, but just be prepared to be seen by a lot of people. So I brought her to a busy intersection in Dallas, gave her a sign that said Happy Valentine's Day, and I had a sign that said We'll Kiss for Food. And as people drove up, they would give us $1 and we'd kiss each other passionately. And we stood on a street corner for several hours that day and donated the money to a local battered women's shelter. But what you see on the site is we were the lead story in the news that night. So what you see there is a video of the date.
Okay, so that's on the internet. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. It wasn't exactly the romantic type of date you'd envisioned, but it worked out pretty well, I think.
Do you fly all over the world to get these bags? I know you said you get them on eBay, but do you do a lot of flying?
No, actually, I've never been outside of North America, as it turns out. I swap with other collectors. And also, when friends go on vacations, they're always saying, hey, what can I bring back for you? Can I send you a postcard? And really, I just request that they bring an air sickness bag home for me. And it's very simple, and people are sitting in a plane for 14 hours and realize, hey, I forgot, maybe I'll bring this back for Steve. And it just works out great all the way around.
When did you start your collection?
That was in about 1981, and I was on a flight to San Francisco from Boston, and I thought it was just one of those revelations where I don't know if you've ever had that type of thing where you just see it and say, yeah, of course, this is what I should be collecting. So I started with one and took a few more flights, got a few more, and then it started the ball rolling, and people just got into it as well and started bestowing them on me by the kindness of their hearts.
How many bags are you up to now?
I got about 650 right now. And it's, believe it or not, I spend a whole lot more time on this than I ever thought I would. I don't know how much time you spend on the baseball cards. I assume that, do you continually maintain them, or do you have them around, or how does that work?
I have them around. I don't spend that much time on it with other things, but I know collectors spend an awful lot of time, going to shows and things like that. Mm-hmm. Since I've been doing a radio show and working full time, I spend more time on things like this. But
that's right. And how about the comic books? Do you
I haven't
gotten rid of those,
no,
or are you keeping them as well?
I still have them all.
Wow.
Yes, I have not gotten rid of them. I have, like, for example, I have the first Jimmy Olsen, first Lois Lane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember reading that when it came out? Or
Yes.
was that?
Yes, I remember reading that when they came out.
Huh.
As a matter of fact, when I was growing up, friends of mine and I created what we called the KC, and no one knew what the KC was unless you were part of the club, and it was the Krypton Club.
Oh.
And you had to be initiated, and one thing you had to do is you had to read a comic book and give a book report on the comic book.
That's great.
Yeah.
See, now what happens to that creativity? I mean, people have it as kids, and as they get older, it seems to be stamped out of them by society.
Well, that's why that's why some of us do radio shows, some of us collect air sickness bags.
Yeah, it's actually, what can I say? It's pretty fun for me, and it's actually one of the things that makes me excited, and I can't explain it, but just getting new bags is one of those things where I think, wow, that is really cool. For instance, the one I just got at the door was an Air India, and it's just beautiful, the exquisite design that went into it.
And where do you store these museums in your these bags in your house, or do you have a separate place for them?
Oh, I have them in binders. Right now, I have about a dozen on my wall, and it pretty much states unashamedly as you walk in, "Hey, you're walking into a barf bag collector's home." But the rest are in about 10 binders, and they're separated by plastic sheets, and there's a bag in each sheet. It's actually, I don't know a better way of doing it right now, but so that's how I have it at the moment. By the way, I did want to touch on something else.
Yes.
You did ask about starting the website. One of the things I found about the internet is vastly popular for underrepresented groups and interests. So, for instance, if you're out there trying to sell furniture on the internet, well, everybody in the world is trying to sell furniture. You're going to get lost, and nobody's going to come to your site, because why would you go to a furniture site over another one? Whereas if you have something that's a little bit off, you're going to collect everybody with that interest will flock to your site. So, for instance, there's a site called the Self-Trepanation website, which, are you familiar with that?
No, what's that?
Trepanation is drilling holes in your head, and people will actually drill holes in their head.
Okay.
Now, I have no interest in that, but it's just such
Well, I mean, that might cause you to throw up.
right. It's such an oddball type of thing that people flock there, and those types of sites, it's my thesis that those types of sites are the ones that actually get a lot of hits. And therefore, same thing with barf bags. People think, wow, I wonder what a site like that would be like. So they come in droves.
Now, this were the people drilling holes in their head. Do you actually see this on the site?
I haven't been there in a while. They were just pictures before, but I assume they've got some kind of real media or MPEGs or something of it right now.
And
I don't know the website. I'm sure if you search for trepanning or trepanation, you'll turn up some of those sites.
Now, one of the pieces of material that I got from you.
Is that your next show?
That's going to be my next show. I'll tell you. I have to find it out. One of the things I got from you, it said, why air sickness bags? And you write, to meet babes. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a nice soundbite, because like I always say, chicks dig barf bags. but what you find is, I kind of use them as a litmus test. I mean, it's not an overt type of thing. It just happened that way. When you tell people about your secret little hobby or not so secret hobby, you will find various reactions. And you can tell by that reaction who is likely to have be of similar mind with you. So yeah, if you're looking to go, if you are starting a relationship or you just start dating someone and they find out that you collect air sickness bags, you can tell right away their level of interest and how well you're going to get along by their reaction.
Now, do you feel as if the bags are in any way degraded by calling them barf bags, or is that okay with you?
Oh, I don't care. My favorite term is emesis bag, which is what NASA uses.
Oh, there's a lot of different euphemisms for these bags?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's happy sack is what pilots call them. There's, well, air sickness bag, vomit bag is very popular.
And what does NASA call them again?
Emesis.
Okay. Meaning?
And I think that's a technical term for nauseous. Then there's, if you go down under, they call them chunder bags, which is more of a European oceanic type of term. Puke bags, whatever. Motion sickness is what people use when they're trying to be genteel. That's about it. I'm sure there are more, but...
And before you collected barf bags, were you ever a collector? Did you collect anything else, like styrofoam wig heads or something?
As a matter of fact, I did collect styrofoam wig heads.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's... You'd think it would be some weird sicko sexual perversion or something like that, but it's really not. It's just my mother had a bunch of these styrofoam wig heads, and I noticed that the head shapes were somewhat different. And I thought, hey, this would make a nice collection. They turned out to be an awful collection. They're very cumbersome. They're hard to display. They nick easily. There's just... And to get more, you generally had to buy wigs, which wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I gave that up, and I gave it up in favor of sardine keys.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Now, sardine keys, well, now the first thing you got to do there is eat sardines, which...
Do you like sardines?
I actually do like them, so that wasn't too much of a problem. The problem with sardine keys is they all look the same. So you have a dozen different brands, and you just can't tell the difference between King Olaf and Underwood, say. So that soon went by the wayside as well. Although I actually do still have them around here somewhere, being a pack rat and all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things about collecting is you want to have some competency at it. So, for instance, if I became a stamp collector, there's just no way I could ever be anywhere near competent at stamp collecting compared to how other people are. Now, that shouldn't be a litmus test about how you stack up against others. You should do it because you enjoy it.
Do you aspire to be the biggest collector in the world of barf bags?
Well, you know what? I do aspire to do it, but not at what it costs. I have spoken on the phone several times with the largest collector in the world, Nick Vermeulen.
And how do you know? Why do you know that he's the largest collector? How do you know him?
Actually, he's in the Guinness Book of Records.
Okay.
So he's the largest officially recognized. And it's disputed by another collector, Oliver Conradi, and they don't get along. And, I don't need to get involved so emotionally that my livelihood is going to be dependent upon whether or not I'm in the Guinness Book of Records or not. So, yeah, of course I'd like to have the largest collection, but I don't want to live it. I don't want to be so obsessive that that's all I think about.
Are these people so obsessive about it, the two men that you just mentioned?
The one in the Book of Records, I believe, is fairly obsessive about it, yes. I think I know he flies around the world going to airline memorabilia shows and tries to get more bags. Which, hey, you know what? I would do it too. If it was convenient for me, man, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I don't think I'm going to stop everything down that's going on in my life to do so.
Mr. Silberberg, we have to take a quick break, and then we'll be back again.
Okay.
We are speaking with Mr. Steve Silberberg, who has a very unique website. He has a virtual museum on air sickness bags, and we've been talking about that and his collection. We now have to take a quick break for Health Beat. I am your host for the World of Work, Shep Cohen, and now this.
African American infants are more than twice as likely to die from sudden infant death syndrome as white babies. This is Health Beat. Dr. Yvonne Maddox, Deputy Director of the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, says the Institute is partnering with a number of national African American service organizations to reduce SIDS.
We have been able to work with sororities, fraternities, church groups, and parents, as well as those from daycare centers. We have now been able to get our message to these communities in a much more effective way.
During the next year, the groups will raise awareness at 3 regional summits that focus the resources of community organizations on reducing the risk of SIDS. As part of the campaign, they have developed a resource kit for reducing the risk of SIDS in African American communities, offering tools and guidance for use in outreach efforts. To learn more, call 1-800-505-CRIB. On the Health Beat, I'm Sally Beckner.
And this is the World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and we're speaking with Steve Silberberg, who is a large collector of air sickness bags. When we took our break, we were discussing his museum. We were discussing some other issues, the largest collectors in the world of these bags. Let me ask you this. What's the most common question that anyone asks you when they communicate with you about your barf bag collection?
Well, for some reason, everyone wants to know if they're used or not. And, none of them are used for their intended purpose, necessarily, but they're sometimes have been used to put in, papers or something like that. But no, not for their intended purpose.
Now, how many serious collectors other than you are there? You mentioned the 2 people who are kind of going at each other to see who's the biggest collector, but how many of you are there?
I'm actually very surprised. I know of about 100 collectors out there. They're just, when you have a site like this, people who actually have collected or do collect tend to seek you out and find you. So it's really surprising. What I do find is that most of the collectors in the world are either in the United Kingdom or Germany. And there are a fair amount in the United States, but for some reason, those pockets just seem to breed collectors, and I don't know why. I think, again, it's some sociological thing.
So Germany has the largest group of collectors, and the United Kingdom.
Yeah. I think in the United Kingdom, it's all because of the proper society. In the United Kingdom...
but it might be proper, but is it proper to collect things like this?
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's kind of that rebellion. It's the Monty Python rebellion against whatever is proper in common society, in decent society or whatever. So I think people who have perhaps a sense of humor or a little bit of rebelliousness in them say, hey, this would be great. Chunder bags for me.
Now, what are your favorite bags? You talked about some of them. What do you think are the best?
Well, of course, my favorite is the Space Shuttle. I wanted one of those for about 15 years or so, and finally I had a friend whose cousin worked for NASA and was able to get me one. And it's just awesome. They've got some kind. It's made in it's made of some kind of space age material, I guess. I don't even know what the material is. And it looks like it's sewn very well. It's got a little astronaut embroidered on there. It's just a work of art. And it also comes with a moist towelette inside.
Oh my God!
Well, I guess when you're in zero gravity, that those types of, you can't really control where you throw up based on gravity. Another of my favorite is Fin Aviation, which has no instructions. No airline name. It's just a cubist reindeer throwing up on the bag. I love that one, and I think most people really like that. I also like there's one from Disneyland, the Disneyland Star Tours bag. What I like about this is the notion that Disneyland decided that this was something that they wanted to associate with the brand name, although they did do away with it very soon thereafter.
Do you have that one?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wow.
And it was given out. They have a ride. I think it was called Star Tours, which was supposedly so violent that you needed one. But yeah, they discontinued them. And those are a little bit harder to get, not because the bag collectors are so much after it, but more that Disneyana people really like those.
Now, you mentioned that you're you work with computers. What's your educational background? So we have some idea, the type of person that would have such a collection.
Well, I actually got a master's degree from MIT in electrical engineering and computer science.
Perfect background for this type of thing.
It is. How about yourself? What's your? Where did you go to school?
I am a labor lawyer. I represent labor unions in New Jersey.
Really? Is that what you do now?
That's what I do.
You retired from that, and now you do a show? Or
no, that's what I actually do. Everyone on our station is a public station in New Jersey, and we're all volunteers. We do this for fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that you're my fun for Friday afternoon.
Well, that's great. And do you find that there's a lot of labor infringements in New Jersey?
There are. There's a lot of labor infringements. Keeps us pretty busy. And that's how I got involved in the station. It's an outgrowth of my work in labor law. I work with working people all the time, so I figured I'd do a show on the world of work. I mean, you're a variation from it, but this is what I do every Friday. Talk to people either about their job or about some work-related topic. And
so are you a plaintiff mostly?
I'm a plaintiff, yes. I represent plaintiffs.
You work with workers' comp and a lot of insurance companies and that type of thing?
Not really. Not involved in injury type of things. I'm involved with people who have problems on their job. Someone who's been fired improperly, or I negotiate contracts for unions and things like that.
I think that's kind of cool. A lot of attorneys get into it because they're altruistic and benevolent, and then find themselves just defending the interests of large corporations. But I think you've stayed true to probably your idealism.
I try to, but I try to do it, and that's why I have a radio show also.
That's excellent.
And I have a lot of fun. Now, tell me about your future plans. You said that you want to have a.
I would like to have the roadside attraction museum.
Yeah.
I think that. The only problem with that is how do you get someone to staff it? I mean, who really wants to sit there in a room with bags waiting for people to walk in and, try to sell them trinkets on the way out? Hey, here's your Barf bag keychain or whatever.
Do you sell anything off of your website?
Actually, I do. I have been trying to. The site actually ends up costing a bit for hosting and that type of thing. So what I did was I had printed up an air sickness bags around the world poster.
An actual poster?
Yeah, it's a poster. It's got 30 pictures of 30 scans of 30 different bags on a blue sky background, and I think it makes a really nice gift for people. I mean, if you're looking for a gift for somebody, you can pretty much be sure that they don't have one, and it's a great gag gift. Or people make it sick, or just anything like that.
Can you frame it?
Yes.
That might be great. I mean, I'll frame it and put it in my office. We have a guy
Send you one.
We have a guy who's on the show after us, Brian from Brooklyn, who gives everyone a hard time. Maybe that's something we can get him. He can put it up in his house.
Yeah, it's been that would be great. And you know what? If you're out there listening, I'd ask you, if you think this might be appropriate, go to the site and buy one. I'm not making a lot of money off it. I'm not this wheeler dealer who's going, ooh, I own the Barf Bag empire. It's just helping me defray the cost of keeping the site up and running.
Now tell me, in our closing minutes, what ironies are there from your collection that you thought about?
Well, let's see. Now this I find ironic that I'm single. I don't know why that's the case.
So you didn't meet the babes then with your collection.
No.
Well, you might have met them, but you didn't land one that you wanted.
Yeah, you'd think that this would be just a magnet, but it turns out not to be, actually.
I was immediately attracted. I figured, this guy's really got something on the ball, but it didn't work out, huh?
Yeah, it's that it's that air sickness bag mystique, as I like to call it.
Well, you said that you have a girlfriend now.
Yes, I do.
Do the two of you kind of discuss air sickness bags?
Actually, it comes up more than you know. She's not she thinks it's cool that, hey, I get a little bit of publicity about it, and it causes an eye to be raised every now and then. But pretty much, her main issue is, if and when we move in together, where are you going to put them? That's like a vital concern to her. She says, they're not going in the living room. They're not. So she got all these. She has all these constraints about where they can and cannot be.
And I have constraints with time, unfortunately, and it's time for me to end our show. It was really a pleasure speaking with you, Steve Silberberg, this afternoon. Your museum, your collection is very interesting and very unique. Thanks for being with me on The World of Work.
Thank you, Shep. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Until next week, this is The World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen.
You're listening to WDVR FM 89.7, Delaware Township, New Jersey, and translator station W220AG 91.9, Lawrenceville, New Jersey. WDVR may also be heard on the World Wide Web, www.wdvrfm.org.